Burden is an interesting game. It's a story-driven adventure horror game with some unique and interesting puzzles. Plus, it can be completed in about an hour and a half, but that's not the interesting part. That's your bullet point list of the features. What is interesting, though, is how dark the story really gets. I can't go too in-depth about the story because there are some major spoilers if I do. But the gist is that you are Greg, father to Ethan, who is recently deceased. While coming to grips with the loss, he and his wife receive a strange package. She goes missing soon after, and while exploring your house for her, you end up in your basement, which somehow leads to a strange and surreal place where you come face to face with Ethan and his, let's call them friends. And that's where things kind of take a turn for the worse, mostly for Greg. What really impressed me about this game was that it did an excellent job of putting forth an oppressive and kind of tense atmosphere. Jump scares and instant death sequences are few and far in between, which is honestly a godsend for an RPG Maker horror title. You and I both know that they tend to kind of overuse them a bit in this genre, and I'm glad this one didn't fall into that same kind of trap. Also, as you get deeper into the story, discovering what Ethan and his friends have in common, it's a literal WTF moment. But when you learn why, it's very chilling. While you don't really feel too oppressed in the game, it has a very tense atmosphere. It's also very dark. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. The puzzles in the game are actually rather interesting, and they have some really unique solutions, so kind of try to think outside the box for a few of these. And of course, it has an excellent story that was very well written, and the twists were really unpredictable. I was not quite expecting what happened when it happened, so good job on that. The game has a unique art style. I personally really liked it and have no issues with it. However, no one has eyes unless they're apparently surprised, so there's that. The main puzzles themselves, they felt a lot more like fetch quests, if you understand what I'm getting at. When you start, your goal is to get all these keys from the kids, but you have no real direction or where to go or what to start with. The game is rather short. It's kind of easy to get all the endings in a single sitting, so there's very little on the replay factor. More often than not, it wasn't very clear on what should be happening next. I spent a good deal of time wandering around looking for the next item to solve a puzzle or which area I should be heading into next. The instant death sequences, while they are few and far in between, I felt they were kind of poorly placed. While there are saves that are marked easily enough, it still felt like these were a little on the cheap side. Is Burden a game that is befitting of its name, or does it lift a weight off of your shoulders? It's the kind of story that had me guessing till just about the end, and with the multiple endings, I was still invested enough in playing it over and over again until I finished it fully, but it still only took me about a single sitting. Honestly, this is still a 100% recommend title. It's free, which is awesome, and if you're a fan of horror and puzzle gameplay, this will satisfy that craving easily. Just don't expect the burden of your choices to be lifted in the end. I'm HawkZombie. Thanks for listening.